Hey guys, so I got a Walrus Audio Polychrome. I've been wanting this since it was unveiled, and I finally picked up one yesterday. I've been playing with it since, and it sounds pretty awesome, as you could hear from the opening. So disclaimer, I paid for this with my own money. This is not a paid review or tutorial. In this case, I'm going to go over some cool settings of a flanger and what all the controls do. So a lot of people ask what is the difference between a flanger and a chorus, and the easiest way to say that is a flanger has feedback where a chorus generally does not, and a flanger has a much shorter delay time because a chorus is basically just a delay that's modulated, but with a very, very short delay time. So just really quick, the MXR flanger, it's one of my favorite analog flangers. It's been out for a very long time. This is the reissue, and it just sounds fantastic. But the Walrus Audio one is now becoming one of my favorites as well. They're not going to replace each other. They have very different voicing, so yeah, there's just something to keep in mind. This is a much bigger pedal as well for your pedal board, and it also runs on 18 volts, where this guy only runs on 9. Alright, so let's go over some basic settings of a flanger, and both these flangers have the same basic settings, they're just called something different. This one has a little difference in the term, the DFV control. What you can do is you can dial in how much of the flanging you have. You can make it completely wet too, which turns it into a vibrato. I'm going to go ahead and start the audio that we had in the opening. It's just a good full frequency response, so you can hear what the flanger is doing. Alright, so most of the controls are geared towards controlling the LFO of a flanger. That's for both of these. I'll go ahead and engage the flanger, and we'll go over the basic controls. So rate in this case is how fast the LFO goes. Depth is how much the LFO controls the flanging. The sweep is kind of the time offset of the sweep, but it can also be used to control it manually, which we're going to do right now. I'm going to turn the feedback up to half so we can really hear what's going on. I'm going to turn this to 50-50 dry flanger mix, and we'll move the sweep control, which will let me manually move where the notch filtering happens. Think of the sweep control kind of like the time control on a delay. So yeah, as I go up, the time changes. So yeah, I'm the LFO right now. The depth control completely disables the sweep control in this case if I turn it all the way up, because it'll sweep across the entire range. So let's just do that. So now the LFO is engaged, again with the depth all the way off. The LFO is disengaged. Pretty simple there. Feedback is how much it feeds back, just like the feedback in a standard delay. In the case of most flangers, I say most because the Electric Mistress from Electro Harmonics, I believe, does self-oscillate. At least the clones I own do. In this case, they don't self-oscillate. So if I turn the feedback all the way up, it just gives you more whoosh. So yeah. Just going to be quiet really quick so you can hear that. Turn the rate up just a little so it's a little quicker. So yeah, that's the basic idea of a flanger. We'll go over some of the other cool things that this one can do. But let's look at the MXR flanger and see if we can see the similarities in terms of controls. Alright. So everything is off right now in this, or everything's down. I'm going to turn the regen, which is the feedback control, and we're going to use the manual control really quick, and I'll show you. I'll become the LFO. Just like the depth control on the Walrus. And now we'll turn up the width, which is the depth control. Now if I turn the width all the way up, the manual does nothing because we're sweeping the entire range. But if I turn the width only to halfway, we can change how much of that halfway of the LFO we control. It's a little hard to explain. But yeah. And then speed is your rate. And like I said, this is an awesome sounding pedal. If you can hear that, it's great. That's really where I like it on this one. Regen about 75%, 80% all the way up. Even when it's all the way up, it sounds good. Yeah, so that's really, it's great sounding. Now, the Polychrome also sounds good, but it sounds different, very different. I'll switch back to that. Still really lovely sounding. And I absolutely love it with some reverb. So yeah, let's hear that again with some reverb. I'm just using the Hall setting on this. Alright, let's go reverse some of the more unique features on the Polychrome. We can change it to a vibrato, which totally takes out the dry signal. So you're left with a vibrato, but a vibrato with feedback, which is kind of unique. Let me turn off the feedback here. And there you go. You just have a standard vibrato. It's a very nice sounding one. I can even change the waveform. Let's go over the wave shapes. So this is unique on this for Flanger. You have different wave shapes. Right now we have the traditional triangle wave shape, which the MXR I believe uses as well. We can go to a sine wave, which is more traditional for vibrato. Turned up the speed there. We'll keep that speed. Alright, so sine wave. Triangle. And now here's the cool one. Random. Turn up the rate so you can hear that a little better. The other really cool thing is your second LED here shows you the status of the LFO. Alright, so now that we heard that, before I switch back to flanging where we still have some dry signal in there, turn up the feedback a little. And we're going to change the voice. So in the down position, this becomes a full frequency or a higher frequency flanger. And in the up position, it becomes a flanger where it drops off some of the low frequency. Full frequency. Dropping some of the full frequency. Switch back the waveform, turn the rate down. So yeah, as I said earlier, it's very similar to a chorus. You can get some cool chorus sounds out of it too. So to do that, we're going to drop the feedback. Let's change the depth a little and mess with the sweep. And there we go, you kind of have a little bit of chorusing going on. Let's go back to full frequency. Not super lush, but it still sounds pretty cool. So I mean, if you needed a chorus and you wanted a flanger instead, I mean, it would do in a pinch. Yeah, so I hope this video helped you guys out, especially if you didn't know all the controls of a flanger and what the Polychrome sounds like.